On May 18th, 2018, Warner Bros. Announced a reboot of the Thundercats series, making it the second reboot after the cancelled 2011 series. The announcement was met with negative to mixed responses from fans to both the original and the 2011 reboot. It made me wonder as to what made the original so well remembered. What in the series does lend itself to comedy, and what doesn't? To understand both these questions, I decided to view the original series and try to find out what exactly made Thundercats work so well. The 1985 series belongs to an odd genre called science fantasy, which has few faces in the public consciousness outside of Star Wars and its contemporary series He-Man. The genre is characterized by having magic and technology coexist in some manner, such as the Sword of Omens being able to perform miraculous feats, just as much as the Thunder Tank gets situational upgrades that help the team overcome whatever obstacle that presents itself at the time. While the show often presents very outlandish situations for the main characters, they do treat the obstacles they face seriously, if at times with a bit of mocking banter at some of the more ineffectual villains. There are two major themes at the center of Thundercats, the first being the classic struggle between good and evil, which is almost inherent to the show's genre. The second, however, is far more compelling and what carries the story of the show. At the very core of Thundercats is a coming-of-age story. In the beginning of Thundercats, Lion-O is only a 12-year-old boy escaping the destruction of his home planet Thundera, along with his fellow Thundercats. After witnessing his homeworld explode, he's then presented his heirloom, Sword of Omens. With the sword, he also inherits the mantle of being Lord of the Thundercats. The rest of the series then deals with his physical and mental growth into a wise leader and the group's survival on Third Earth. The main cast more or less exists to help Lion-O improve himself in some way, the most obvious of them being the spirit of Jaga, who often appears before Lion-O either to give him a bit of sage wisdom, or to help him find out something that he wouldn't know otherwise. While Tigra can be seen as an advisor to Lion-O, he comes off as the least interesting of the group, and winds up getting captured or compromised with surprising frequency. Personality-wise, he just seems to be very level-headed, not much else. Panthro, on the other hand, is more of a practical teacher to Lion-O. Going so far as to teach him how to pilot the Thunder Tank, Panthro is far more defined than Tigra. He brings wit to the fight, either through his banter with the team or through his own ingenuity. He's also responsible for the majority of the team's technology, making him an irreplaceable member of the group. Cheetara does not get much screen time in the early episodes, but as time goes on, we do get to learn a bit about her. Aside from her apparent speed, she also possesses a latent sixth sense that gives her visions of the past, present, and future. Aside from her playful banter between the other Thundercats, it has been teased from time to time that she might have feelings for the now-grown Lion-O. The siblings, Wily Kit and Wily Cat, are a curious bunch, often getting into trouble where Lion-O probably would not. In a way, he learns from their mistakes as well. Despite their age, the twins also do their part to combat the myriad evils of Third Earth, not through brute force, but by trickery, as they use various kinds of bombs, smoke pellets, and traps to hamper their enemies, where the others would use more direct tactics. The Thunder Kittens also have distinct personalities between them, Wily Cat being the more cautious of the two, often trying to talk his sister out of getting them into trouble, only to be pressured into doing so by her teasing of him. Snarf is a mixed bag. He is whiny, cowardly, irritating, and has the second most annoying voice in the series. That prize goes to the Robert Burbles.
Oh no, we couldn't involve you in our troubles.
Yet, when push comes to shove, he does pull through for the Thundercats in his own way. He will use opportunity and his ability to talk to animals to help the team when they need him. Thing is, they don't need him in the field all that often. Most of the time, he's cooking for the Thundercats and complaining to them. The latter of the two being way more frequent than the former. Nonetheless, he does serve a purpose, and that is to try to counterbalance Lion-O's impulsiveness with his caution. Pity he wound up being so very annoying. Now, what would an action show be without its villains? The show itself has two main sets of villains, mutants and Mum-Ra, with his
ancient spirits of evil.
The mutants are your run-of-the-mill Saturday morning villains, bumbling, bickering, and barely able to present a challenge to the main characters. When they do, it's usually with assistance or because of some external force that has compromised the Thundercats in some way. Mum-Ra has the opposite problem. He usually gets the upper hand quite quickly with his schemes, either through magical trickery or by employing lackey. If that fails, he falls back onto using his unliving form to try to overpower the cats. However, this tends to fail. He's usually defeated by some unexpected factor, or the Sword of Omens. Most of all, unlike the mutants, Mum-Ra has a certain cheesy charisma to him. There is something entertaining about watching a villain that revels in just how evil they are. There's no interior conflict with them. There's just wondering how far they'll go to accomplish their goals. While Thundercats Roar will undoubtedly change some aspects of the show to accommodate its new tone, understanding what made the show what it was will help it. For example, the mutants lend themselves perfectly to comedy, with their terribly thought-out plans and constant internal conflicts. That said, it probably shouldn't make fun of Thunder's destruction or Jaga's self-sacrifice to get the Thundercats to Third Earth, provided that Jaga is even in this series, as I didn't see him in the trailer or the promotional art. Taking generally goofy premises and having Lion-O take them dead seriously would also be a good way to make the series more comical, while still being true to the character, as he was one to charge headfirst into danger due to his sense of justice and pride. While the original Lion-O eventually matured and stopped letting his pride get the better of him, it's unlikely Thundercats Roar would do that, which is why fans of the old show aren't very happy with this reboot. They're uncertain that it will have the heart that the original did. There is a almost cliched stereotype about animated shows, especially ones from the 1980s, that they were just entertainment, junk food for children with little substance. While Thundercats does have the appearance of a cheesy show aimed at young boys to sell action figures, beneath that layer of cheese does lie a sincere story about a boy forced to grow up and become the leader that his surrogate family desperately needs.